On pole is the Lola alongside the BRM and the Lotus as we go racing for the Glover Trophy. And it's a nice, clean start from our front row. One of the cars bogging down further back in the pack, but everybody getting underway. Andy Willis, though, managing to come through from the middle on sweet ground to take the lead through Madrid.
Yeah. Andy Willis already had a race in an earlier Formula 1 just earlier today. That was a brilliant start. Looked absolutely all square on the front row, but he got his nose in front, got a couple of car legs clear in his BRM, and in behind, very, very tight indeed. Andy Middlehurst being challenged. One of the cars further back, the Lotus 18, appearing to be smoking a little bit, but up front, it's all fair, it's all square. The first 6 or 7 cars starting to get away.
Certainly are, and a nice clean start as well from everybody in this Glover Trophy for 1.5 litre Grand Prix cars from 1961 to 1965, and already actually starting to pull away ever so slightly is Mitchell in the Lola, I should say it's Andy Willis, or in the BRM, started in second in the middle of the front row, but with a good start further back, just struggling to get it turned in there in the Lotus 24 Katsuaki Kubota as we go side by side through the kink of Labant, just about holding it tight.
Well, Andy Middlehurst gaining a position there. Another driver who's gone incredibly well was Alex Morton. Started 13th. He's just coming shot now with the gold band on the green nose of his car. That was he's gained about 6 or 7 places, but from the middle of the front row, Andy Willis leading this field away. There is his BRM coming through. The outside the front row being chased by Martin. No, Martin Shredden's back and forth. I beg your pardon, they've been chopping and changing. Ben Mitchell from pole is in 3rd position. But leading car, 7/10 of a second clear.
Yeah, it's the BRM P261 that leads. Then comes the Lotus 21 offshore. Then down to 3rd, the Lola of Ben Mitchell, who started on pole. Andy Middlehurst, an 8-time winner here in the Lotus 25. A Titan of this sport is down a spot in 5th. Good start from the Lotus 21. That is Morton at the wheel of that, further down in 6th. But a decent start from Alex Morton from 13th on the grid, already up into the top 6 as the sun beautifully glints off that beautiful BRM in the lead, and the Lotuses and the Lolas that follow suit.
Obviously, bear in mind when these cars went out to qualify for this race, it was on Friday. It was very, very slippery and wet indeed. So it was almost like an entirely different circuit for them. Mark Shaw, though, he's moved up from 4th place in the Lotus 21 on the grid up to 2nd. Can he keep Andy Willis in his sights? Again, Alex Morton going well, the number 75 up into 6th place, but the first 4 cars are making their break at the head of the field. Then there's a second gaggle of 4 cars, so they're splitting up. But here is our lead quartet. Andy Willis is definitely being kept honest by the chasing Mark Shaw in the Lotus number 99. Ben Mitchell, our pole starter, down in 3rd, but looks like he's got the pace to come back, and they're taking with them a man with a bit of a record in this race, Andy Middlehurst, the Lotus 25.
Absolutely, as we get to the end of our opening lap, and we start lap number 2. We've got a car in the wall, and that is the last thing we want to see. Looks like a bit of damage to the front left as well. Perhaps as the suspension taking a hit there, that wheel looking a little bit out of sorts. We'll try and get a closer look and see who that was.
It could be Nick Fennell if number 29 isn't still going, or could it be car 21? It's green. It certainly could be Dan Collins' Lotus 21. We'll get sight, and if it's anywhere, I think it's just around the corner on the exit at St Mary's, but no sign of safety car, no sign of anything else. Oh dear, and our race leader has gone around. Maybe there was oil down there, but Andy Willis out of the lead of the race. So suddenly we've got Mark Shaw in the lead from Ben Mitchell, from Andy Middlehurst. Will anyone else get out of shape on that oil down there?
Disaster for our leader. It's losing the car and making contact there with the barrier of the circuit. Can he get it back out? It was a very light touch. Okay, let's take a look at this. So this was the first incident we caught a glimpse of. We can see
it's nothing to do with oil. Andy Willis just simply went too deep and got the right-hand rear wheel onto the grass, and that lost its grip. You can see just in the dip on the exit of St Mary's, the car that went off the lap before, which is Ben Collins' Lotus. Just had confirmation of that. And Andy Willis, well, he had a little spin in an earlier race today, but made a recovery drive. But this time around, he will not be so lucky.
Yeah, so we do think that is the number 21 of Dan Collins down the Lotus 21.
He has got going to go. He's
excellent.
So we'll see what Andy Willis can do again. He was last year, right at the front of the field and took victory in that BRM P261. Not too surprised there. We've got the safety car out because in the dip, it's a blind exit to St Mary's. That is where Dan Collins' Lotus 21 is sitting on the left-hand side of the track. But should anyone else lose it, as we saw the following lap, someone did, not just anybody. That was our race leader, Andy Willis. this. Luckily, there was no contact, but it makes sense to get that car cleared up.
Well, then we take a little bit of a respite. The clock still continues to count down, just under safety car conditions, and leading the way is the Lotus 21 now of Mark Shaw, ahead of the man who started on pole position, Ben Mitchell's Lola. Then comes Andy Middlehurst up into third, the 8-time winner here in the Lotus 25, followed by Philip Buhofer in the other BRM, who is now down and up into fourth. And then the Ferrari, actually, of Joe Colasacco, the 2018 winner in the Ferrari 1512, up and rounding out the top 5 slots.
Well, as I said, Joe Colasacco wasn't too happy when the track was wet. He said before he went out he wasn't going to be too happy, but clearly on a dry track, that Ferrari 1512, 1.5 litre, 12 cylinders, that's how the nomenclature works for that, is suddenly in the mix. And of course, the safety car is bringing the field close together. Good chance to get a look at some of the other cars. Just see Patrick Jamin, his Wilman Racing. There it is. Sorry, that's not his car number 15, but the Wilman Racing car, red with the white stripes. Just had sight of that. Then the second red car we saw with the pale blue wheels, that's the Joe Colasacco Ferrari. He's got Alex Morton, who, as we said, went from 13th to 6th on the opening lap. He'll be absolutely chuffed, and that's car number 75, the car that actually did most of its racing in South Africa, Cinderviva, and then Neville Ledell.
Safety car then still out for, well, the incident that occurred with Dan Collins' Lotus 21, now out of this race. Looked like he was out of the car as well, which is always good to see. That is the reasoning for the safety car. Immediately followed by the spin of what was our leader, Andy Willis, in the BRM. Where has Willis actually recovered to? He's fallen all the way down. I think he's around about 20th spot at the moment.
Bang on 20th.
And so he'll try and then catch back up as we get, though, a red flag. So upgraded from safety car to red flag. That is race stopped, and we believe it's due to oil on track.
There's 15 minutes to the green flag waved at the back of the pack, waiting for the flag to be dropped on the starting gantry. Up it goes and quickly down. A brilliant start from Andy Willis in his BRM.
Yeah, really nice start from the pole sitter as they all get away nice and clearly and race on down to Madwick. Car starting from the pit lane as well, as it gets very tight with Mark Shaw trying to get down at the inside of Madwick, side by side as they breeze out of the corner. Who's going to come out on top of this one? Can Andy Willis hold firm? He picks up quite a bit of dust. There's also water on the track as well from some of the puddles that have pulled there from the rain earlier in the day. A couple of cars forced to drive their way through it, but still side by side, the BRM versus the Lotus 21. Andy Willis and Mark Shaw going toe to toe, and you know what, they're keeping Ben Mitchell in the Lola right in that fight as well.
He certainly is. Andy Willis seemed determined to stay on the outside line come what way, but Mark Shaw has now, on the exit of St Mary's, got his nose in front. I thought he was going to get the job done, and Ben Mitchell dives through as well, so Andy Willis is going to have to do it all over again. He'd already flunked, he'd already got off the circuit. We had the red flag. He was enabled to, on countback, to go back and start on pole position, having fallen to 20th. But right now, Mark Shaw is getting up and going. Ben Mitchell's trying his best to keep up. And Andy Middlehurst, number 25 for the Lotus, the green and yellow works car, the 1963 title-winning car with Jim Clark, is moving up into third place. So not the best opening lap from Andy Willis.
Well, it was such a good start, wasn't it? A good launch, but now fallen back, though, for the BRM, who does indeed just get taken there by the Lotus 25 of Andy Middlehurst, who does almost make it. I think that was a bit of contact with the inside of the inside barrier of the chicane, but I think it was tyre to flat wall, so might well get away from that one as we are back underway then. 15 minutes now down to just over 13. It is indeed Mark Shaw who leads.
Well, he talked to 13, and 13 is the number of Joe Colasacco. He's gained 2 places. He's already up just the back of this pack in 5th place in the one and only Ferrari in this race, but Andy Middlehurst is looking very keen. Up the inside of Ben Mitchell, he goes into second position, and then with the dust being kicked up by Mark Shaw, the pack behind trying to sort each other out. But yeah, there's Middlehurst in second. Just before St Mary's, Ben Mitchell back to third, but he's staying in there. Andy Willis coming back in the BRM, the one with the orange nose. And do you take the wide line or go in tight? Andy Willis
really wide line.
Or the really wide line, tarmac or grass? The choice is yours.
This was the bit of contact. It was a shave, I suppose, with the chicane, wasn't it, for Andy Middlehurst?
Yeah, no bill coming his way. He didn't remove any of the paint, but Ben Mitchell being pushed very, very hard by Andy Middlehurst. But while this is happening, Mark Shaw is just getting a bit of breathing space at the front of the race. The clock is counting down from 15 minutes. We've almost had 3 of those minutes elapsing, but Andy Middlehurst cannot rest because Ben Mitchell wants to get back in there. The Middlehurst can be relentless in this Lotus 25.
Lotus 25 ahead for now. The Lola chasing, tries to take and defend that inside line. Does Andy Middlehurst coming through the chicane and out onto the throttle, up through the gears as he tries to keep tabs on Shaw ahead of him in the Lotus 21. So we come across the line once more, but look out for the Ferrari as well of Joe Colasacco, who's trying to find a way down the inside of Andy Willis. Bit too far back though on that occasion, but he's very much putting his Ferrari in the fight as well.
He really is. He said on Thursday, I think when I chatted to him, it's not going to be quick because it's going to be wet, but he's going better and better in the drive. Maybe the 12 cylinders is the better format for him rather than the 8 that Ferrari also ran. But this is classic Formula 1 racing period. That's why the 1.5 litre Formula was so good. The cars are small, they're nimble, but you do have to carry momentum. And the driver, I think, has got the most momentum potentially. It's a driver who nearly ran wide again. I was just double-checking before I spoke another word, and it's Andy Willis. That's number 1. It's the BRM with the orange nose. He has been able, as the 2 cars ahead of him, to sort of slink, get onto their tail. You don't get much of a toe with these cars. They're so low, they don't really punch much of a hole in the air. But likewise, Joe Colasacco in the Ferrari in 5th place is closing on all of them.
The top 5 split by just a couple of seconds. They're all coming through your shot there, and they're being led by Mark Shaw in the Lotus 21, as does Joe Colasacco in the Ferrari. Try and line up a move on Andy Willis's BRM. He's desperately trying to find a way, but leading them through the chicane first. That will be Mark Shaw. Then really taking a much tighter line, and defending that is the Lotus 25 of Andy Middlehurst, but then that puts Ben Mitchell right on his back, and in tow, that puts again Joe Colasacco. Now, side by side with Andy Willis, through on Andy Willis's BRM as the Ferrari makes up a space.
Answer me this question: who's the slowest car in this lead quintet? Yes, it's the race leader, but the others, because they're fighting with each other, are slightly delaying each other. But what have we got? We've got 1.7 seconds covering the top 5, and then, boy, oh boy, Joe Colasacco, why have 1 place when you can gain 2? And the Ferrari now up into 3rd place, and Andy Willis back down to 5th. Ben Mitchell to 4th, so it's chopping and a changing, but Colasacco's coming forward.
The Ferrari, the 2018 winner, so knows what it's like to get that top spot now, sets its sights on the top 2. The Lotus 25 ahead of Andy Middlehurst, and then still at the head of the field, Mark Shaw in the Lotus Climax 21, but he's not being able to escape, as out wide, indeed, goes Andy Willis in the BRM.
I talked about momentum, maybe had a little too much, but suddenly Mark Shaw's got Andy Middlehurst behind him. And the newer Lotus 25, look, this is the one that's a monocoque, the one at the front of the race. The Lotus 21 is a standard tube frame, so much more rigidity and therefore much better handling for the car that's giving chase. The car that Andy Middlehurst knows so well, and unfortunately looping around there, Charles McCabe's earlier BRM, that's the P57. He'll get it going. Can he get it back on the black stuff? Yes, he can. St Mary's strikes again.
Back onto the start-finish straight then. 9 minutes on the clock for the Glover Trophy after 4 laps completed with a red flag in the middle. It is still the Lotus 21 of Mark Shaw that leads the way, but he has got Andy Middlehurst in the 25, which just looks a bit quicker. Has been trying to find a way through, looking left, looking right, takes the right-hand side, tries to get alongside. He's got to be careful though, because the Ferrari is lurking behind. Through for the lead goes Andy Middlehurst, takes it away from Shaw. Lotus on Lotus, the 25 coming out on top, but now the 21 of Andy Middlehurst, which has fallen down to 2nd, will have to look in his mirrors at every corner, because the Ferrari of Joe Colasacco is right there and waiting to find a way through, and Ben Mitchell is not down and out of this one either in the Lola.
No, it's been incredible. A couple of cars have dropped back, most notably Ben Mitchell, but he comes back every time. But still the car with the fastest lap of the race is the Ferrari with the pale blue wheels, the Ferrari in 3rd place. Middlehurst leads the race, Shaw in 2nd place. If Middlehurst can get clear, I think, to me, the key is whether Colasacco can strike very, very soon and get up into 2nd place past Mark Shaw. If he cannot, I think Andy Middlehurst should escape. But look, wow, what a stern-resistant break, late braking from Mark Shaw, holding on to 2nd place in his Lotus 21. Fabulous low shot, so period.
Told you the red flag will be worth the wait, and just look at the difference of lines there once again coming through the chicane. Andy Middlehurst in the Lotus 25. Now the leader of this race, just taking that much tighter line through. That puts him a little bit of risk going down the straight, but he's got the confidence, carries the speed through into Madrid, and Shaw could do nothing.
All racing beautifully. Andy Middlehurst, in theory, ought to pull away, but look at the punch and the pace that the Ferrari is coming up now. The big question is, will they catch back Marcus? Because the leading quintet are way quicker than some of the drivers at the tail of the field. And what Andy Middlehurst wants, okay, we're already going past one of the back markers already. That's a Derrington Francis, so that pulls out of the way. Hand up, nice acknowledgement to those chasing. This is just like the cover of my Waddington's Formula One box, the game I played so much as a child. These cars, that's why they stand in my mind.
That was Jason Wright just getting out the way in that Derrington. Okay, so good move then last time around for Joe Colasacco in the Ferrari. It's just getting them a little bit out of shape. Mark Shaw having to really work his steering wheel on board that Lotus 21 as he tries to keep the car behind him of the Ferrari now up the road, trying to chase down the Lotus 25 of Andy Middlehurst. Nothing between them, a couple of tenths of a second split. The lead is indeed a second, 2 seconds covers the top 5. Then there's a little bit of a gap back to Philip Buhoffer in the BRN P261. He's a bit on his own at the moment, rounds out the top 6 as we just come back and look a little further back in the field. That's Katsuaki Kubota in the Lotus 24. He's a little bit further back down in 14.
But what's good news there is the fact this dicing is all the way down the field. The Scuderia Colonia Lotus is in the mix there. That's car number 8, Tappy-Von Trips, raced out in South Africa. Yes, Ferrari hero, but he did go and race a Lotus just the once down there. And ducking and diving again, Katsuaki Kubota having a look and getting a face full. Oh, that was really, really unfortunate. Stefan Gerbsel going really well in his Lotus Climax, looped it round, and Kubota, who was tucked in behind, got skyward, but luckily back to terra firma. Hands up for the Japanese driver, he's okay, hopefully he'll bring that. So he was right at the end of the lap. Let's take a look. It's this gaggle coming down towards Woodcote. The track has a little bit of kink. Look for this one, car 22. He turned in, it was just breaking away, maybe turned in a bit sharply, but suddenly Kubota had nowhere to go. And the Scuderia Colonia Lotus with Nick Taylor on board had even less option, but luckily he avoided the incident. So a little bit of a scuff on the nose of Gerbstel's Lola, but that was a scary moment.
Yeah, that was a scary moment. Nothing really Katsuaki Kubota could do. But pleased to see that wasn't any worse. Another car off wide. That's the 22 just trying to find a way back and rejoin.
Yeah, but Harry,
Lotus
what happened in that lap was the fact that Middlehurst and Colasacco, they had become the fastest cars in the race. They've really dropped Mark Shaw. He was only 3/4 of a second behind. The Ferrari's coming so much punch out of the chicane. Will he be shown the inside line? Andy Middlehurst will be clean and absolutely obvious, but he's not going to offer this race on a plate. Maybe that's why he's won the Glover Trophy so many times. And Ben Mitchell is still in 3rd place. He's lost another second. He's 1.6 seconds back. Just as a little bit of lappery going on. Some of the back markers keeping out of the way very nicely. Franck Trouillard, one of those. And then Middlehurst, well, he needed to move across a little bit. And these two will be loving this scrap. They've got to keep it clean. But it's Lotus against Ferrari. How period would you like it to be?
How brilliant. I'm just thinking the same thing. This is absolutely fantastic. The sun shining at Goodwood for the 26th Revival, celebrating 1.5 litre Grand Prix cars from between 1961 and 1965. And how is this for a battle for the lead in the Glover Trophy? It is Lotus against Ferrari. At the moment, the Lotus 25, Andy Middlehurst at the wheel, a titan of this trophy race, an 8-time winner here, keeping at bay for the time being. Joe Colasacco in the Ferrari, who won back here in 2018, but that Ferrari has been steadily making waves up through the field, tries to get alongside, but will have to settle and tuck back in as they arc their way through the right-hander. Middlehurst holding on for the time being, taking that much tighter line, that defensive line through the chicane. And we think, well, with just over 3 minutes to go, how many more laps are they going to get into this one? As he tries to get that toe down the main straight, moves to the outside this time around for the Ferrari. Not close enough to sweep round.
No, but it's so interesting. Andy Middlehurst isn't taking the fastest line. He's having to take the defensive line, and that is really quite dangerous out of the chicane. simply because we've got so much punch and the better exit line for the Ferrari, and we know it's great in the straight line, but Middelhurst cannot afford to put a wheel wrong. We talked again and again, lose momentum, but get off the racing line, and it takes a while to get it back, and now they've got some back markers in front of them. It's Teffian Salisbury, the Lotus 18, that's car number 20, and again, Middelhurst been a little bit compromised, but no, not so bad for Konosaku, but it puts him very wide on the exit of St Mary's. He might have to slightly lip, which could give an advantage to Andy Middelhurst. Into Lavant they go. The door is not being left open for the Ferrari, but those in by Mark Shaw in third place, Ben Mitchell in fourth place, and Andy Willis third, fourth and fifth, nose to tail. They were all given the chop.
They're having a really good battle, though, over that final podium position. Was just, well, barely a tenth in it between Ben Mitchell and Mark Shaw over third and fourth. But we're focusing on the battle just in front for the lead of this race. Andy Middelhurst in the Lotus 25 trying to hold on to this one. But now this is as close, I think, as Joe Calasaco has been side by side. But he just has to give way on that outside line. Can't hang it around. But he's really piling the pressure onto Middelhurst. And they once again cut through the chicane, onto the throttle, up through the gears, down the main straight once again. A minute and 50 on the clock as they cross the line. We might get 2 laps left of this race.
Exactly so. I mean, anybody loves racing in these conditions in these cars at Goodwood, but there's racing and there's real racing. That's precisely what we're seeing between two people who are absolutely at the top of their game. Andy Middelhurst leading the Lotus 25 and the Ferrari 15-12. Joe Konosaku, as you pointed out, a victor here before. But chopping and changing behind them because Mark Shaw has just moved ahead of Ben Mitchell. I'm not sure it'll stay like that for the remainder of the race because they've chopped and they've changed, and Andy Willis in fifth place in the number 1 BRM may yet still get towards the podium. Into St Mary's they go. From shade into sunshine, back into a little bit of shade, but into the dip. But there's a back mark up ahead. Andy Middelhurst has to think, is he going to give me space? Has he seen me? I want to go up the inside line. Not close enough. No. The first part of Lavant, the inside line was blocked. No gain for the Ferrari driver Konosaku or for Middelhurst. But is there enough space? Oh, lucky there. As Sid Hall just got his Cooper out of the way.
Just about, but Andy Middelhurst is clinging on to this one for dear life. The Ferrari comes back at him again, side by side, as the battle for third behind still goes on, but just managing to get that little bit of extra grunt, slightly better on the brakes with the advantage of track position as well. Andy Middelhurst in the Lotus 25 brakes. Won't be for the last time, though, for the chicane. He'll have to do one more lap with 30 seconds on the clock as they come down to the main straight. Tucked in behind them, the Ferrari of Joe Calasaco trying to get even a little bit of toe, but he's a bit further behind this time around, not able to try and attempt to move round the outside. He's got one more lap to do it.
And there are no back markers immediately ahead of them, so it's absolutely going to be clear from here to the end. Mark Shaw's nailed down third place. And in the background of the shot, you can see Ben Mitchell in the Lola, that's the one with the red nose, and being challenged and potentially passed by the orange nose BRM. Yes, through goes last year's winner, Andy Willis. So racing from first to last. Have we got any more overtaking manoeuvres in the book? I'm not sure we have, but Joe Konosaku faster through the middle part of St Mary's, into the dip, up the other side of the compression. If he's going to move, he's got to make a move down the inside to Lavant, but he's only being shown the outside. What are his other options? There's no space into the chicane. That means he's got to do it either on the blast down the chicane or somehow, just somehow, on the run down to Woodcote. And we're getting towards that now. Through the Lavant King they go.
Only a few more corners then left for Joe Calasaco to try and find a way through. He's been following Andy Middelhurst all race long. He knows the lines, he knows the moves. That Lotus 25 takes a much tighter line going into the final chicane, which is just a couple of corners away. But time is running out for Joe Calasaco. He'll have one more realistic chance to do it. He's not going to be able to, keeping it cool, calm and collected out of the chicane. Can he get any kind of toe across the line? It's going to be nip and tuck, but it's going to go the way of the Lotus, which sees the checkered flag first in the Glover Trophy. A fantastic drive from Andy Middelhurst by less than a tenth of a second, seals the win ahead of the Ferrari of Joe Calasaco, and then it will be another Lotus, the Lotus 21 of Mark Shaw, which rounds out the podium ahead of Andy Willis's BRM, and then in fourth, in fifth will have to be Ben Mitchell in the Lola, settling for that top 5 position. A couple of cars off at the end, but my word, Bruce, we had a red flag. We had to wait a bit, but it was worth it.